Hello. Hello. So, good afternoon. And for some of you, I know it may be good morning or good late evening because of jet lags and so on. I'm sure you're tired after a long day. And I've been so fortunate to get the last session of the day to try and keep you awake. So I'll try and do my best. But let's see whether I succeed. So, Richard have just kindly welcomed both Gracia here and myself. But just before I start this session, which is really about innovation, the game, the sport that we all love, I'd just like to very quickly say that thank you, Richard, for all your emceeing today, but also just from my side as the Secretary General of BWF, welcome Richard as the new CEO. I know he was introduced in the beginning of the day, but just officially say, welcome Richard. I'm sure you will have many good years with us and lots of hard work. You're on the other side on the operations now, but I hope you'll serve the members as we all try to do every day. And welcome to Richard. So, and Gracia, I think we will come back to Gracia. We all know Gracia, our BWF Athletics Commission chair, BWF council member as well for many years, but I think you also remember Gracia as Olympic champion and many more titles over the years. And obviously Gracia, her connection to the sport and what we're doing is undoubtedly very important to hear her perspectives a little bit later. So what I'm going to talk about today is basically these four areas. I'd like to talk a little bit about why innovation, what is innovation, how at least we look at innovation. I'll talk a little bit about scoring system. You know there's things going on in terms of trying to test various things. Many of you will have said, well, we've tested this forever, huh? And we're still a little bit where we were for long. We are where we are for a long time, but we are keep on testing both the scoring system, and we have a few other updates for you today, which relates to the relay system that we also, you know, that's been going on at the World Junior Championships level. It's also been going on earlier than that at the Youth Olympic Games, and something we are looking at could maybe be a future concept, but it needs testing. And the time clock. I'll come back to all of those points a little bit during the presentation here at the end of the day, so I hope I can keep you a little bit awake about what is actually all about the sport. So the big question here, why innovate? And I'll probably start by saying that what is innovation? I mean, I hear many people say, yeah, we need to innovate, so we need to think. We need to have something that is new, different. It just needs to be different. And in my view anyway, and there can be many different views, I accept that on innovation, innovation is just not different. Innovation is obviously something that is, by the way, super difficult. Because innovation doesn't come just with a new flick idea. I say, oh, let's try that, and then we have innovated. I would call that kind of innovation window dressing. If it's just different and new, but doesn't work, it's not innovation in my book anyway. So what is super important is that it needs to work. It needs to be led by objectives and be measured by KPIs so we know that innovation actually makes a difference. It creates value for the sport or whatever we innovate within. And in the BWF strategic plan that you have all seen, hopefully, and read every line and every page in that long document we have, innovation is part of many areas of that, but also, and that's what we're going to focus on today, the events area. And that's really about, as some of the points here on the slide says, about supporting the continued development of our sport. It's about the opportunity to better present badminton, which obviously in line, you know, creates commercial opportunity. But that's about the excitement. We talk a lot about excitement. It's about trying to get the viewers' attentions or the awareness of all our different fans out there in the world. So this is part of the objective at the end of the day. Players, coach development, now not so much coach health, I guess, but players' health is super important. Some of the innovations actually, and we'll talk about it in connection with the scoring system, also have a dimension that our most important stakeholder here, or at least the actors on the stage, and our stage is the court, is our players. But obviously we need to take care. Top sport is not necessarily something that doesn't come with a flip side. There are injuries involved, health, safety is something we need to take super seriously. And scoring system, for example, I'll talk about that a little bit later, is part of that thinking. And really it's about having tools for stakeholders to perform at the highest level, also technical officials, and that's some of the other innovations we are working on. The time clock is one of them. So again, I'll come back to that. But remember, some of these things, for example, scoring system, is something you, the members, will have to actually decide. We haven't been too successful making change over the last many, many years with this particular thing. But we keep on innovating or thinking how we can maybe do better, different, but with objectives in mind on how it would work best for all our stakeholders. But change is difficult. But frankly, we will be in big problems if we don't change and adjust the ways we think, because then other sports will actually take over our position on where we are today. Anyway, very quickly, we are actually therefore using various different platforms to test. And you've seen that around the world. We're using continental circuit tournaments, junior tournaments, senior tournaments, leagues around the world. Sometimes it can be a little bit difficult to make big tests within the world tour, where things are set up in a slightly different way. And therefore we are using every platform we can where it's reasonable and possible to test in an efficient way. We try to analyze data, and we try as much as possible to get stakeholder feedback through service and expert groups, which is essential for us to actually navigate where we are trying to go. And again, some of the current priorities: a scoring system, the service fault technology, team formats to enhance the excitement around our team formats, the relay system. We are looking into various different instant review systems. We are looking into various different data collection tools for match analysis. And we have shuttle testing machines, netfall technology that's also on the agenda. But again, I'll try and focus a little bit on the three first points that is on this set of things that are all in the making, and hopefully will be something we can realize in the years to come. So into the first point, is a scoring system that we are presently testing. But I want to actually give you a little bit insight to why are we testing anything as boring as the old 3x15. That could seem as being absolutely not innovative. Go back to the good old system. Back in the days I played, that's a long time ago. But actually that's not what we're doing, because obviously there has been enhancements to our game, such as we are not playing with winning a point with the serve anymore, and therefore it is a very different system than the good old 15 system that once were played in the good old days. But we have actually, over time, done a lot within the scoring system developments. In 2006, the present system, the one we have played for quite a few years, that have worked absolutely, in many ways, really well. The 3x21 was introduced, and obviously, the big difference, in my view, was not necessarily the points you played to. The big difference was obviously that you actually you could win a point without actually serving. So obviously, that was a big difference also in the terms of the dynamics of the game, how it was played. As a doubles player, which I was once back in the days, it was super scary having been used to, when you served, that you couldn't lose a point, you could win one only, to actually go in and say, if you made a mistake when serving, then actually you could lose a point now. Super scary for many. But obviously the players, and they're super good, they have adapted fantastically, and no doubt that that scoring system is there to stay in at least our view at how we've analyzed this. In 2018, there was then a series of tests done and a process being initiated where we tested a system which was 5 to 11. So more games, but less points in each game. And that was actually proposed in 2021 and did not pass the AGM at that point in time. It was one vote that actually made the difference. And it is what it is, that's the democratic system, but obviously we were all, in a way, a little bit disappointed because we thought that was an innovative approach. Ever since then, we've obviously analyzed different other systems, and we have come to at least temporary, at this point in time, a conclusion that there is some merit in actually trying to test and get more feedback and data out of the 3x15 system. And there has been different variations of that, but at this point in time, there is an endorsement to go into a more formal testing, which will not decide whether we do it or not, because at the end of the day, you, the membership, will decide that if it's proposed, but give us more insight to what are the pros and cons by collecting data and finding out exactly what is the dynamics of this new game. So why is it that we've come to this conclusion? Well, there's a number of points, and that's what I started out saying. It's really very much objective driven. It's not driven by an idea or just going back to some old system. And you can say, okay, why 15? Well, that was actually what was thought was a good point in terms of both having a physical game, but also having a game that actually lived up to a range of other criteria that we think is important, and especially for the top performance game, the entertainment part of the game. So actually, there is more exciting points when you play to lesser. You get quicker into something where people can actually start feeling an excitement around the game. Well, does 6 points make a big difference? Well, it does make a difference. There is and that's about getting to the exciting points sooner. You will, all things equal, also get more matches that will be slightly closer. All things equal, you can't run away with too many points when you actually have fewer points to play with to win a game. And there is advantages, we believe, related to better scheduling. Better scheduling is, amongst other things, both a slightly shorter time, but also a more consistent time. What you all know is that a badminton game, in the beginning of the introduction in 2006, we actually saw some very fast matches because, you could lose a point and so on. The game has developed tremendously. And suddenly we saw, in the beginning we saw probably matches never lasting more than an hour. And now we're actually back to the length of the matches as we nearly were before 2006. And that's not because of the game itself, that's because we have fantastic athletes that practice more, they develop their physical skills, their psychological skills, and their technical skills to actually being able to develop the game in a way we've never seen before. But that actually means that we believe that there is also then a merit in changing the game that actually adapts better to the level of the game and where it is today. We want to keep fans interested, and player health and longevity is a super important thing. We want to have, and I'm being careful here, have GOATs, as we call them. The big heroes of our game, the greatest of all times, that's the GOAT. We want to have more of them, and we have one of them sitting here on the chair. And we want to have more, but obviously they have to stop at some time, especially at the highest level. We hope they play for life, but they may not play for life at the highest level. The more we take care of our athletes in terms of avoiding injuries, avoiding not only the instant injuries, but also the injuries you get by actually just playing hard games every day, every week, all year around. And that's a very, very important point in just reducing the physical impacts for the players slightly without taking the physicality out of the game, because we are playing a sport, which is a physical thing. So it's about keeping the balance between the two. All of those things, if we are able to strike the right balance, we believe that some of the things here on this sheet will be achievable. Increase also the commercial value, which I think both for athletes and for member federations is something we would like to do. We will enhance the quality of our broadcast, get more stars of the game, get better fan engagement, enrich the experience for our fans. And all of this is not done just by changing the scoring system, but it gives us a better platform, we believe, to do it if we go in that direction. So we actually are working, and I'm not going to take you, I mean, this is obviously a complicated slide, huh? But we are actually taking also a more scientific approach to this by actually having statistical analysis made on how games will likely, predictive systems, in terms of how these things will likely pan out. Well, none of us have a crystal ball, and I had never imagined, I was not necessarily, I was probably a little bit a conservative one when we changed from the 3 to 21 with running scores. And I have to admit, I was probably conservative, huh? I was, is that right, and so on. I had never imagined that this will go as well as it did, huh? But we're trying through predictive statistical analysis to say, okay, what does this mean? And we've tested through these predictive systems 3 times 21, 2 times 21 with playing 11 in the third, 5 times 11, 5 times 15 with setting to 20 and 25. And the way you do this is actually because we are so lucky to have a fantastic database with actually scores data for nearly, 30 years now. And that has made it possible to run statistical analysis to get some sense out of how these games will evolve with the best prediction statistically possible. And none of us have a crystal ball, so none of us really know. And the 3 scenarios that has been investigated is that if there's 2 players having an even strength, if there's one player that is a little bit stronger, and if there's one that is much stronger. What is it then these outcomes of different systems will create? And I've chosen not to show you the 50-slide version of this, so I'll quickly come into actually some of the conclusions on what we've found. What we found is that the 5 times 11 have the highest percentage of matches with at least one occurrence of exciting points. So actually it's 5 times 11 has the highest actually likelihood of creating exciting points. And that was one of the scenarios and one of the philosophies that we were presenting in 2018 which that was presented. However, it also has a flip side we found. The flip side is also that if the stronger player is up with 2 love in games, needs to play a third as well, it's super uninteresting. There's nearly no way that you know that player with an uneven match will not go anywhere in a third or fourth, and the match is done if it's 2 love in games. And that's a flip side of that. 3 times 15, however, was found to be a better excitement between the excitement and keeping the excitement across all 3 games. And that's simply because that you only play 3 games. There is also it's more exciting, the deciding points are in a scoring system with longer games. For example, 3 to 21. Then the longer game, the longer you have, the less likely it is you get close. And clearly the most exciting thing is to follow when it's 18 all, 19 all, 20 all, and even in setting. But obviously we also very often see that there's a 16-6 lead, and then the game is over, and people will leave and have a coffee and maybe come back or maybe not if we talk about the commercial game and keeping attraction to the television screen for the fans out there. So overall, it was found that the 3x15 is the best option at the moment to test, the one that had most merit, more exciting points compared to other systems, getting to the exciting points sooner, but also having shorter matches, and also worth mentioning, more consistent time length of the matches, both related to 21, but also related to the FIME 11, that actually could be 3 games or 5 games, and the variation of the time of those games are very big, actually. So these are some of the findings that we found through these different types of statistical scenario analysis. And we believe, again, back to innovation, what is that? That not because we have a good feeling in our stomach, not because we have a slight preference to this or the other, but through actually some factual findings in what we can do to predict the future, we believe that hits more of the objectives that we've set up for game-changing scoring system here than what alternative systems will be. Hence, we are now testing that, and that's what we obviously hoping that you, as the membership, will engage in, which some of you already are. And that actually just takes me, and we don't know exactly what the outcome will be, but again, we find the most merits, which takes me actually now to hand over to Richard and Gracia to hear it a little bit more from a player's perspective. Thank you.
I found the on button.
Testing. Okay.
So just part of a Q&A with the athletes. We know the athletes are essential for the game. They're in the middle of the game, they're essential to the game. We appreciate the Athletes Commission. You represent all athletes, but it's a broad spectrum of athletes.
Yeah.
But mainly you're connected to the higher level athletes. So can you share with us, I guess, the views of the core athletes on this proposed scoring change?
Okay, thank you. So I represent the athletes as well, and I've been asking to top 50 athletes in the world, and some of them are, you know, it's different. Right now, our athletes nowadays are open-minded. Most of them are willing to try the new concepts, and they are also give a great feedback, such as what might happen in the scoring new system. Yeah.
And I think Thomas covered quite a few reasons for why we need to change. Again, from talking to the athletes or your own personal view, which is the one of the main reasons for the change? What's the one that stands out?
Yeah, we think with 3x15 rally point system, the match could be an aggressive play from the start. Like Thomas said, presented just now, the intensity and excitement of the matches become more engaging for spectator as every point becomes crucial. It could also help to improve the overall scheduling efficiency, especially in the early rounds of tournaments where matches can sometimes run very late and it's not good for our health as an athlete. And this change might help reduce the physical mental strain on players caused by such as a lot of tournaments in a year. There are a lot of tournaments nowadays to players to keep up with such an intensity and tough for the players, no matter the age. So we think this or that, this scoring new system is affecting a lot we think that the current system is affecting a lot of injury for the players. But again, for this new scoring system, we haven't tried yet. So we never know, we don't know yet until we try it on court, in competition, or in training. Yeah.
So keen to try and test the system. And
yeah,
I know I've spoken to players that are really keen with injuries, with the volume of competitions, the longevity of their career. Mm-hmm. They're keen to see if the new scoring is more athlete-friendly, shall we say. So that's the key piece.
Yeah, I think now also athletes want to have a long career as long as they can. Because right now we have sponsors from BWF, and then also the prize money increase every year. So it's really good for the athletes' career. So, but it's not good for their health if we keep on going with this current system. You know, so we need to change a little bit or to adapt a little bit, you know.
To help the athlete well-being. So.
Yeah, and then also, of course, the athletes won't say 100% yes to this new scoring system without even trying it first.
Okay, cool. Yeah. And just finally, you represent a diverse group of players. So there's young players and players in domestic structure, so maybe those not on the BWF circuit.
Yeah.
How do you think the new change will impact them the most?
Okay, actually I can't say any much here as long as we haven't tried it. We should try the new scoring system first. If we all remember, and also Thomas also present just now, in the past we play 15 points for doubles and 11 points for women's single. He was just too tired, to be honest. And in the training, also in the competition. But back then, the tournament's not that a lot like now. And I'll also remember in the middle that BWF also tried to change to 7 points, right? Times 5. I have tried it all because I was in the gap generation where I've been in the 15 points and then in the 7 times 5 and also the new current now. So after it changed to rally point, like today, every state also, I think, will adapt well to it. And as we know, badminton becoming more and more interesting and fun to watch. So it's been 2006 until now, it's been almost 20 years. And I think we need to adapt. We need to adapt to it.
Thank you very much. And Thomas is a slightly older player. Any additions? So good. Okay. Thank you very much. A round of applause for Gracia, please. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
So we have a little extra session because we thought it was a good opportunity to also update you a little bit about 2 other innovation procedures or processes we are in, and one relates to the relay system for the future. This system was actually recently used for the 2024 World Junior Team Championships. And actually, I think in many, many ways, we had really, really positive feedback for our junior players. But just to take you back, it was actually first time used at the World Junior Championships, or testing was conducted during these junior championships. It was not actually played in the official team events, but it was actually tested as side events during these junior championships. But it was then used officially in Buenos Aires during the Youth Olympic Games back in 2018. And that was the game that was planned first was a 110-point system, where then 10 matches is essentially played, 2 of each event, meaning with the events here in this terminology. We talk about men's singles, women's singles, men's doubles, women's doubles, and mixed doubles. So basically 10 matches, and each played here in this context to 11 points, and then with basically just adding the points without having any stops until you reach 110. But it was planned first to be played at World Junior Championships in 2020 officially, but it was then officially first used in 24, but as I said, with quite good results. However, there was also amongst the good results various different downsides, and I'll come back a little bit to that, because why is it we're trying to do this? And there I'm coming back to the objective side of why are we innovating. So it's really about, again, trying to find opportunities to better present badminton, and also, again, potentially creating better commercial opportunities, greater excitement, greater parity amongst members, simply in a way where it's more exciting to see a match, a team event, as it is to see a men's singles or women's singles or mixed doubles or what it may be, if it's an even match, instead of seeing somebody winning 21-2, 21-2. So it's a great creating better parity amongst more members so they can compete at a level where actually more people also wants to watch it. Greater participation, more members involved. I mean, who want to actually travel to a tournament where they know they're going to be knocked out for sure in the first round, instead of competing more equally in a more equal playing field. And potentially for access to more badminton commercial markets also, where it's important, obviously, that there's a performance level of the teams or the players, for that sake, that compete. So we see a shorter tie format than what we today have in, for example, and this is one of the things, a Sudirman Cup. A Sudirman Cup finals format, when we look at the last matches during such a tournament, can easily last 6 to 7 hours. I'm not saying that per se is necessarily not interesting, but it is a very, very long affair, and it can, in many, many, many markets, actually be very difficult to keep the attraction for viewership, to sit that many hours and watch a match from the first shuttle is played until the last one and the winner is found. There is also, again, an enhanced player health and longevity aspects to that, even though we don't play as many team tournaments, so that may not be the biggest argument when we talk about these types of formats, as it's essentially mostly once a year or twice a year that people participate in these things. But there is a range of arguments here that is the objectives of what we are trying to achieve. There is a continued test going on, and there has been a number of discussions taking place following the World Junior Championships, because it worked quite well for the juniors. They actually liked it quite a lot. They even said maybe we should play even longer matches, because they would like, when they get to a World Junior Championships, they will actually like to play. And they don't have quite the same issue as the slightly older players in terms of injury and pressure on their health and all of that. So they would like to play, and even maybe to play longer than what they do when they travel far and meet all of the junior players across the different countries. However, when we look at it as a Sudirman Cup format, potentially, if that was what we wanted to develop, then it does actually not necessarily, it's not necessarily super interesting to sit and watch the first 50 points. There is also a great danger that somebody is suddenly ahead 70-20, and therefore you lose a little bit the nerve, the attraction of staying with the match, so to speak. And therefore we are looking at some modified formats that essentially is built on the same principles, but maybe actually creates some more peaks during such a match, if it's going to be used as a more commercial thing. The World Junior Championships is not necessarily a very commercial event. It has other objectives when we have players playing there. It's a more development-oriented, getting all our talented, fantastic players to come and get the first touch with the international environment. And they have different things that they want to get out of actually being in these kinds of events. But actually, when it gets to a Sudirman Cup event, that's a totally different thing. That's where it's something that attracts potentially reaching out to 500 million viewers around the world, and that has to have a different nerve around it. But anyway, it's work in progress. It's something that we really want to see for the future to evolve a potential Sudirman Cup format and see, can we make it better? We certainly shouldn't make it worse. And actually attract even more viewers, even more markets, even more countries and member federations involved, playing even more close matches, because that's, at the end of the day, what fans want to follow. So that's the intention, and I think we're making progress. I'm not sure we are quite there yet. Time clock, as the next one, that has been discussed for quite some time. And again, it's about why would we even think of having such a time clock? Well, you know, we have this, and that's quite important in the culture of badminton. Every sport has its own cultures. And one of the cultures in badminton is basically, from a technical point of view, is that we have something that we say continuous play is important. It's important not for the opponent to be able to drag out the time unnecessarily just because the opponent is tired, because it's a physical game. So if you're tired, yes, you may lose, but you shouldn't win just because you're dragging and walking 60 times around the court or trying to dry your forehead too much and so on. It should be a fair game for both sides. And obviously, one of the things that the time clock could do is to manage this better. So it's not as too subjective approach, the umpires, because the umpires are being challenged. Because when a player is tired, and I've done it myself, so when you're really, really tired, you really want to go and drink some water and just get a breather, as you say. And of course you do. But obviously the time clock could actually manage that it's fair. You can use this time, not anymore, and then we need to be back on court. And that can have some actually advantages. And again, as I say, greater enforcement of coaching regulations greater enforcement from the technical officials in terms of not making it too subjective in terms of how long a player can take to dry their forehead. I mean, we have some several measures we need to consider here. One is, of course, that we do need to make sure the safety of the players are upheld. So there needs to be mopping on the floor, because there will be sweat on the floor and we can't actually risk the players slipping. So therefore we need to take into consideration that time needs to be given to mop the floor, and we need to be efficient with that to be within the time clock. So this is not only for players, but also everything that needs to happen within that area. So there's some logistics that needs to be implemented to be able to make this work. But it can also be that we need to have greater enforcement of coaching regulations during such intervals. How much can you do, how much can you not do during these intervals? But it is to keep continuous play while avoiding players to deliberately delay the game. And that we believe is quite important, and it also gives the umpires a much, much easier task to some extent to actually manage the game in case somebody really wants to push it to the limits. We have been analyzing this, and we have been measuring the average time length that is now typically being done between the rallies. And there's been some different outcomes of that, but we're looking at somewhat between 20 and 25 seconds. That would likely be the right time clock interval. And then there's a range of other types of regulations that needs to come with this. But I think many of you would recognize it from, for example, tennis, where this is a standard element and actually works quite well. So it's something we would be using at major championships and world tour level, at least in the beginning. We'll see how many other levels can be included. Most likely around 25 seconds, that's what we're working on. The clock then starts when the umpire updates the score. The umpire can clear the clock because there can be different things happening that are unforeseen. And then the 25 seconds tracks the server. So that means that basically the receiver needs to be ready when the server is ready. But it also gives an advantage in terms of managing the game here for our technical officials, that we can, within that 25 seconds, basically say they don't need to ask when they go out and towel. They don't need to ask the umpire. They can do what they want. They can do a drink, but they can also use other things, cold spray and whatever they need within that 25 seconds if they wish. So it gives some flexibility to the players. I would say the only real downside of this, the only real downside that we have considered is that if now all players use 25 seconds between every rally, then we will get longer matches. We don't see that in other sports, that will be the way every player will do it, but that's a risk, of course. Again, we can't do that, we can't test that without testing, and therefore we do believe this could actually probably have more advantages than disadvantages. And therefore the next step is that we are in a process where we give this option through the score pads the umpires are using when managing a match, to give it a time clock functionality also, so players can actually see the time clock counting down. We will then need to test it in selected tournaments, and there are a number of regulations being drawn up to manage this framework around the time clock. And we hope that this could already be tested in some level of operation during 2025, last quarter, or maybe into 26, but at least something that is already being done for the purpose of, again, improving our game, clear objectives, and something that goes under our innovation efforts to actually make our game better and present for new generations, and these updated so new generations will follow us now and the years to come. And that's actually it for now. So thank you very much for listening during this last hour of the forum, and have a great evening. Thank you.